Kong versus the Muto Prime has been a hot topic amongst the MonsterVerse Godzilla fanbase for quite some time now, and for good reason. Both of these titans are more focused on raw strength than they are on special abilities like Godzilla, Ghidorah, Mothra, and all the others. So today, unlike in past videos, we'll be going over three main categories: strength, speed, and their attack potency / durability, on to find out who's stronger between Muto Prime and Kong. Do note I will not be including Kong with the Beast Glove, as I would like to go over the new Empire scaling in general before I go into matchups using any GXK Titans. Another note is that I will not be going over why GBK Godzilla is weaker than King of the Monsters Godzilla, since I've done that plenty of times before in the past with past videos. And there will be 3 rounds for this fight: Muto Prime versus Base Kong, versus Kong with the Axe, versus Kong with the Charged Axe. Now, our first category that we'll be going over is strength. In terms of physical strength, both the Muto Prime and Kong have statements that put them below Godzilla in physical strength. However, it is stated for Kong that he has stronger arms than Godzilla and is superior up close to Godzilla, which didn't happen. And we also know, in terms for both of them being able to cause earthquakes, we know that Kong can generate 4.2 earthquakes, and Muto Prime is capable of generating up to magnitude 9 earthquakes for at least natural earthquakes. And if you want to go even higher than that, Muto Prime is capable of generating up to magnitude 12 earthquakes if the right conditions are met for the fault lines. Now, along with these earthquake statements, another feat for Kong is that he was able to open up the Hollow Earth doors, which clocked in at about 5 million pounds, or not pounds, tons. And adding on to Beetle Prime's strength feats, we have statements including being able to manipulate tectonic plates, create new fault lines, manipulate fault lines, destabilize the fault lines, earthquakes that can rip through the mantle at supersonic speeds, and being able to recreate any earthquake in history. And all of these previously mentioned statements are all retained in every single punch that she hits somebody with. Now, I would give the point to Beetle Prime here as, being able to manipulate tectonic plates, destroy them, etc., things like that, are much more impressive than a 5 million ton door, but you can argue either way. In terms of speed, I'm not going to go over this too much, but Kong should have a notable advantage here, being one of the faster titans within the MonsterVerse, consistently dodging Godzilla's atomic breath while Muto Prime gets hit by it. But other than that, Muto Prime doesn't really have too many speed feats besides getting hit by the atomic breath and just going toe-to-toe with Godzilla in combat, so there's not really much except for Kong. He's able to react to Godzilla's atomic breath, Perception Blitz Mecha Godzilla, which I disagree with, but that's not the point. But yeah, I would give the point for speed here for Kong pretty easily. Now, in terms of AP and durability, this is probably going to be the one where it gets quite controversial. Now, Kong's statements, along with Godzilla being the two most powerful forces in their nature within Godzilla vs. Kong, which would mean that Kong would upscale other titans currently alive, like Rodan, Queen Muto, Scylla, Tiamat, and others. However, I disagree with Kong upscaling some of these titans, but I will go over that in a separate video where I go over Kong's scaling within the MonsterVerse. But for now, let's just say that Kong upscales everybody that I previously just mentioned, except for Godzilla, for the sake of the video. Now, Kong should be sub-relative to Godzilla, with statements saying that Godzilla wasn't toying with Kong. But come on. Do I really need to explain why that's invalid? He laughs. That's kind of all you really need to know. Now, we know that Kong is weakened throughout GBK.
That I really loved that the editors at Legendary told me is they were like, we want this feeling, like this. It's like heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like, we want him to feel tired, because at this point now it's been so much longer since we saw him on Skull Island. He is truly like an adult, mature Kong, like a one of his species, but he has no other like individuals of his species to relate to. And so he's got this, and he has this like intense weight of loneliness and responsibility on him. And like in describing Kong, it says, maybe you just get really good at killing things.
It being stated that Camazotz is stronger than Prime, with both Arvid and Zid agreeing on Camazotz being superior to Prime. It's also stated that if Kong kept trying to kill Camazotz, he would have succeeded, and that this would be a prime Kong as well, since Kong is healthy, and he's skinnier and faster than he is than GBK Kong, since Kong was also weakened and sedated, didn't have the best food sources, and all that. The GBK novel also states that after the Mechagodzilla fight, Godzilla is bruised and injured, and Adam Wingard stated that Godzilla's skin is impenetrable to Mechagodzilla. This would mean that Kong would have to realistically dealt this damage to Godzilla, which would also mean that Kong is stronger than Mechagodzilla. However, I would disagree with this, but again, I'll go over that in a separate video. Now, it's also stated on countless occasions from Arvid that Kong would beat Muto Prime even after watching GBK in 2022. And he also states that that the axe would be a problem for Muto Prime if it was used against her. However, I disagree with all of these statements from Arvid saying that Kong would win for a couple of reasons. Now, starting with Camazotz being stronger than Prime. For starters, MJ made cases for why Muto Prime would win, to which Arvid agreed that he made a strong case, which would mean that he agrees that Muto Prime would be stronger. Muto Prime is also built to counter Godzilla, aka the strongest species on Earth, meaning that her ability should work to a much larger extent on weaker titans, especially Camazotz, who is comparable to Kong, who is, of course, weaker than Godzilla. Now, Muto Prime is also said to be stronger than Mechagodzilla, and that she wouldn't have to try that hard to shatter Mechagodzilla, which is pretty impressive and a better feat than what Kong could do, because Kong would not be able to shatter Mechagodzilla so easily. In terms of Arvid's statements for Kong over Prime, Arvid didn't even watch Godzilla vs. Kong until 2022, when most of his statements were made in 2021. And Arvid even states that Drew is more credible than he is in terms of just overall knowledge of the Monsterverse than he is. So, and even Arvid admits that GBK Godzilla would still need help to defeat the Muto Prime, which is consistent since Godzilla is, far weaker than he was in 2014-2019. And Arvid also states that Prime's armor can't protect her from Kong's brute force, but Drew states that in order for Kong to be able to beat Prime, he would need armor to survive her attacks, that way she doesn't get blunt force, so he doesn't get blunt force trauma, and that his organs just get destroyed immediately. This would also be consistent with the fact that since Kong can be affected by Camazotz's Sonic Screech, and Prime, and we know that Prime's roar is obviously far stronger since it could shatter Godzilla's dorsal plates, which is something Camazotz would not be able to do. And now, really the only problem here is that, let's say Kong is faster than Prime, which he is. Is the speed gap enough for Kong to win? And my answer is no, because Kong can't really do anything to Prime, and if Prime even just hits her once, it's pretty much over for Kong. Kong would get knocked down to the ground, and since it's stated that he would need armor to even survive her attacks, Prime immediately would just kill Kong. But what about with the axe? Since Arvid did say that the axe would be a problem for Prime. Well, it's kind of the same scenario here, but with an axe. But the base axe doesn't really do anything except one, bounce off of Mechagodzilla's skin. And other than that, it doesn't really do anything. However, we know that Prime, as stated before, can easily shatter Mechagodzilla without trying, which the axe couldn't do even with Kong, raging himself up back to full force. Sure. But the Charge Act, this is where it gets interesting, because the Charge Act is even while weakened, could shatter Mechagodzilla, stab through Godzilla, possibly bleed, but that's about it. So with Kong's speed advantage and the Charge Act, this could maybe pose a threat to Muto Prime. But even with Kong's speed, you see, all Muto Prime has to do is Sonic Roar, the axe would get destroyed, and then it's just base Kong versus Prime, and then Prime easily stomps out Kong. It's not hard to say, Muto Prime would destroy Kong, even if you want to say that Kong is, realistically the second strongest Titan within GBK. But there's a bunch of things that could easily disprove that. But yeah, my conclusion is that overall Muto Prime should take this pretty easily, because even if you take Arvid's statements of Kong being over Prime, it immediately gets overruled by Drew, who has more knowledge, and the fact that it stated Kong would need armor to even fight against Muto Prime, so that way he wouldn't just die, to the Sonic Roar and her punches, because Kong would just get blunt force trauma from that. And we know Kong has taken blunt force trauma before, and also, one stomp was able to break Kong's ribcage, so yeah. And also just the fact that Muto Prime is built to counter a stronger species than Kong, it would just make her attacks all that more powerful against a lesser opponent who has lesser durability, lesser strength, things like that. Muto Prime just has better statements and feats than what Kong has performed. But yeah, I hope you guys agree with my take on this, but if you don't, go ahead and leave a comment why, and I will see you guys in the next video.